This business is not sponsored by or affiliated with the United States Department of Veterans Affairs or your state's Department of Military and Veterans Affairs or any other federally chartered veterans service organization. Other organizations, including but not limited to your state's Department of Military and Veterans Affairs, a local veteran service organization, and other federally chartered veteran service organizations provide this service free of charge. You may qualify for other veterans benefit services outside the scope of what this business offers. All disability claims for increased ratings are processed by the United States Department of Veterans Affairs. This business cannot expedite the processing of your claim by the United States Department of Veterans Affairs.
On that note, good morning, everybody. My name is Andrew Porter, joined by my wonderful co-host, veteran coach Tucker Boyle. Good morning, Tucker. How are you today?
I'm doing great, man. I'm doing great. A little under the weather. I'm in that northeast time period where everybody's getting sick. But other than that, I'm doing pretty good, brother. How you doing?
Oof, I'm doing great. It's a little cold here. I'm in the Midwest here in Kansas City, so smack dab in the heartland. And we get the weather from all sides. So, you know, you'll have a 65-degree day in the middle of September, and then this morning it was like 30, and now it's like 50, I think. So, you know, we don't get hit like that with you guys, but the pollen in the spring and the fall, that gets us. That gets us bad. So that all said, welcome everybody. We'll take the next 5 minutes to let folks kind of get in here. Go ahead and make sure that you guys are all squared away. Get a cup of coffee. Whatever your choice of beverage, or hey, it's lunchtime for some of you folks, so you might be spending your lunchtime with us. Happy Wednesday, folks. Again, thank you for spending some time with us today. Before we get started with today's topic, sound off in the comments. Let us know where you're tuning in from, what branch you served in, and what years you served in. We love to see our wide variety of vets, just love to kind of get a feel for who we're talking to today. So welcome, everybody. Again, we'll get started with our fully developed claim class here at about 5 after the hour, but for now we'll just let our fellow vets trickle in. And let me see here if I can open up this comment section there. Got some folks coming in. Hey, how you doing, Ron? Big Ron Dog. Good morning. Morning, everybody. Let's see. Just 1 year tinnitus increase, and we're going to on 2 secondary claims. All right. Migraine and sleep apnea. Definitely, I would go ahead and get with a coach. If you don't have a coach already, go ahead and get signed up. I have some thoughts on the migraines and sleep apnea. I know that's not this class today, but you might put the brakes on that a little bit. I'd get with a coach for sure, so that you're heading in the right direction and not running into any undue walls there, brother. Welcome, Rich. Army in the 80s. All right. Outstanding. Those were the best uniforms, I think, in the history of the United States military. Those BDUs. I got to wear, aging myself a little bit here. I joined when BDUs were still a thing. Polish my boots and all that stuff. Airborne infantry, the spit polished jump boots. I know my brother here, Tucker, was also airborne, but I think did you join her with OCPs or the digital pattern?
Not even Digi, straight OCP. Right when OCPs were like, I think it was a couple years after they came out, actually. So
okay.
I know that makes you feel a little old by that.
Man, I wore so many different uniforms. I joined in the early 2000s and got out in 2019. So, yeah, definitely crossed the gambit of uniforms there. We've got several veterans trickling in here, folks from the 60s through the 70s, the 80s to the 2000s. All right, we've got a diverse group of generational veterans here. I love that. You guys are joining and spending some time with us today. Ben, our retired Army Reserve, thank you for your service. Everybody, there's a lot trickling in. I list you all individually. I'm just focusing on who I see. We got Todd in the Air Force in the 90s. All right, 90s Air Force, man. They were pumping out the 5th-gen fighters, with the F-22, just starting to be, well, I guess they started developing in the 80s, right? And the Air Force, I think, implemented the F-22 in the early 2000s. I not a big Air Force history guy. My dad was an Air Force pilot, but the Army, I'm more nuanced there. But hey, I love the 90s. I'm just a big 80s and 90s guy. Can you tell, Tucker?
Yeah, I love the 80s and 90s.
Where I grew up, it's where I grew up. So I love it. Well, hey, folks, again, we'll get started here in just 1 minute. Again, thank you for joining us. We want to make sure as many vets get on the live stream as possible before we get into the education bit. So it is about 5 after the hour. Tucker, will you please go ahead and introduce yourself to all these wonderful veterans?
Yes, absolutely. My name is veteran coach Tucker Boyle. I'm a Maryland vet. So I saw a bunch of Maryland vets in the chat. So shout out all my Maryland vets. I was also lucky enough, like my friend Coach Andy here, to throw myself out of a couple good airplanes here and there. So lucky me, lucky us. And now this is what I do here, obviously on my day-to-day, trying to serve in other ways possible, help people like my family when, they were struggling with their VA disability, and, get to surround myself with peers like, Andy and all of our other wonderful coworkers, and veteran employees that we also work with. So I'm just overall happy to be here, happy to be with everybody on this beautiful Wednesday, and going to talk about a pretty important topic. So how about you, Andy? You want to introduce?
I'm excited about this topic. A little about me. Thank you, Tucker. Love teaching classes with a fellow paratrooper here. I myself, again, joined in the early 2000s, got out in 2019. I'm a Florida baby, born and raised in Florida. I live in the Midwest now, here in Kansas City, Missouri. I am a Florida State graduate. I live here, like I said, live here in Kansas City. And, I've been doing this for about 5 years now. And, like I said, I spent so long in the Army, multiple tours to Iraq and Afghanistan, lots of time in the 82nd Airborne, went through Special Forces selection, got through the Q course, got hurt, and then back to the 82nd Airborne. So I didn't get my green hat, but man, I tried. Injury, I've had my fair share of injuries in the service, and, I'm 100% rated. I was not a VACI client. I was actually one of the very few lucky vets that got 100% right out of the gate. I had my 2 C&P exams, one head to toe physical, one mental health, and 100% out the door. And I was shocked. Because I barely went to sick call, except for some of the major injuries that I had that required surgery. But other than that, mostly mental health. So 100% for combat PTSD, if I'm being vulnerable here. That all said, working with VACI, what brought me here was, I'd spent so long, serving, that when I got out, the plan was to go to law school or, be a commercial pilot or something like that. So finished my undergrad and started looking at, law schools and maybe looking at other avenues. And, some of that felt empty. And a good friend of mine who was a senior veteran coach here at VACI, he thought I'd be a great fit here, and I've been here ever since. And I get to serve without wearing the uniform anymore. And, because of folks like you. So thank you for letting me bring education about getting the benefits you deserve to you. So please, if you haven't signed up yet, we'll talk about the elite program here. What we do, what Tucker and I are experts in, is strategy, education, and medical evidence. Strategy is my favorite part of this. Get to play a little bit of chess. And, we look at everything that you present to us, from your DD-214 to your medical records to, asking you questions about what maybe ails you that you haven't gone to the doctor for. And from there, we can educate you and get you to the point where you're ready to go get some medical evidence, right? And with those 3 things, I'll tell you what, that's the greatest start to get into the point that you get the benefits that you deserve. So again, strategy, education, medical evidence, that is our STEM method here. You get one-on-one coaching, you get strategy sessions, you get claim submission education, you get C&P education. Education is the theme, right? And so we want to arm you with the knowledge that you deserve to go in there and get what you deserve. So along with that elite program, you get access to live classes via Teams, 3 live classes up to throughout the week, coffee with the coaches pretty much every morning. I think give or take a day or 2, mental health evaluation education, medical exam education. So if that sounds good to you and you think that you could benefit from this program and all the education and the resources involved, go ahead and book a discovery call, right? So if you want to learn more, again, schedule a discovery call and talk to one of our team members by going to vaclaimsinsider.com. I think there's going to be a link down there below. And in that discovery call, you'll be able to have that conversation, kind of explain your situation and see if you're a good fit for the elite program. So again, reach out via vaclaimsinsider.com. We'd love to partner with you for your VA claim journey. That all said, you guys are here to talk about, or to listen to us talk about, what a fully developed claim is. Now, fully developed claim is a type of VA disability claim that can expedite the claims process and often results in faster decisions for you, okay? So what exactly does that mean and how does it work? Well, you may be familiar with the VA's duty to assist, right? Which requires the VA to help you gather evidence and information needed to support your claim. that falls under a standard claim. Okay, so the FDC, or the Fully Developed Claim Program, is designed to make your VA claims process as simple and efficient as possible by eliminating the time the VA would spend researching your records under their duty to assist, right? So you're giving them everything they need instead of them having to pull from different organizations, look through, do their own research and all that kind of stuff. It just makes it more cumbersome. So you're giving them everything they need, right? So that it kind of cuts out the middleman. Now, again, it's designed to make your process as simple and efficient as possible by eliminating all that time that they would spend researching your records. Now, what an FDC allows you to do is to submit all your necessary evidence and documentation up front, right? So the VA can review and make a decision on your claim without requesting additional information that can often cause delays in the traditional claims process, rather. Tucker, do you want to talk a little bit about what a fully developed claim is versus a standard claim?
Yes.
The difference there.
Yes, absolutely, guys. There's a big difference. So when you file a fully developed claim, you're responsible for submitting all of the required documentation, the medical records and the evidence in support of your claim when you initially file, right? So this includes any relevant medical records, service records, or other evidence that supports your claim. A standard or traditional claim means the VA will gather evidence on your behalf, okay? So with a fully developed claim, the VA can review your claim without needing to request additional information, which means the decision-making process can be completed much more quickly, right? So you must submit all of your evidence at once with this type of claim, which means you must thoroughly understand the VA's requirements before you file, okay? So if you submit a fully developed claim, but the VA determines that they need additional non-federal records to make a decision on your claim, they will simply just remove your claim from the fully developed claim program and process it as a standard claim, okay? So one of the key benefits of filing a fully developed claim is that it can result in faster decisions on your claim without the need for back and forth communication with the VA. The fully developed claim program can help definitely reduce stress and anxiety during the claims process, which I'm sure all of you are very, very familiar with. But additionally to that, because you are responsible for submitting all necessary evidence up front, you have a much greater control over the claims process. And this can basically just help ensure that all relevant information is considered in your claim. You're trying to make sure everything is as squared away as possible, and you're giving it all to them. So it's pretty much undeniable information at that point, right? So if you're looking to expedite your VA claims process, reduce stress and anxiety, and also have that greater control over your claim, the fully developed claim program may be a great option for you, right? So in the next section, Coach Andy will discuss how to file a fully developed claim and what you need to know to ensure a successful application.
Absolutely, brother. So what goes into a fully developed claim, right? So you only need 3 separate elements to file a fully developed claim. So you need a current diagnosis, right? Obviously, no diagnosis of a condition, the VA is going to kick that back. An in-service event, injury, or disease, or aggravation of a previous condition, and a medical nexus linking the two. However, there is a 4th element that we encourage you to include in your claim to improve the chances of getting the rating you deserve: severity of symptoms, right? Because if you look, the VA can, they can go ahead and grant you service connectivity for a condition. They say, oh yeah, okay, sure, 0%, right? Because you don't have the documentation that shows, oh man, this condition meets this threshold for this rating. So if you don't have that, well, then you're looking at getting underrated, right? So again, we'll cover that here in a minute, but what is a medical diagnosis, right? So first, you must have a current medical diagnosis of a disability condition documented in a medical record. The current diagnosis can be found in your service treatment records, possibly VA medical records, or a private treatment records if you believe you have a disability, a condition, but don't have a current diagnosis. It is crucial to visit a doctor to get one, talk about your symptoms, what you believe may be going on, the severity, duration, frequency of it, so on and so forth. So, use your words. You don't have to be a doctor. You don't have to have a medical background, but just, hey doc, I've been having splitting headaches for X, Y, and Z. They last this long. I get them, this many times per week. They force me to lay down and I can't be around light or noise or whatever. So you've explained what's going on with you. And maybe something that's causing them, right? Maybe the ringing in your ears is causing them, maybe stress, maybe anxiety, so on and so forth. So you're giving them the things they need to try to rule things out and diagnose you. So the best way, again, to prove your current medical diagnosis is by, getting with your doc. All right. So upload your medical records showing your current diagnosis and supporting your fully development claim. Obviously, when you're submitting that claim, if you're missing any information, you may receive a VA development letter asking you to provide more. So make sure, hey, you've got that diagnosis squared away first. Second, an in-service event or injury. So there must be evidence that if you're going for direct service connection, there must be evidence that you suffered an event, injury, or disease in service, or aggravated a condition while serving. All right. So if you're filing a claim for a secondary condition, basically, which meaning you already have a service connected condition and you think that condition is either causing or aggravating another one, then that could be the in-service event or injury, right? Leading to that secondary. So as long as your primary condition is service connected, that meets the VA's requirement for that in-service event or injury if you're going for that secondary. The third prong here is proving service connection. Okay. So you need to demonstrate that your disability condition was either caused or worsened by your active duty military service, or the nexus, right? It's due, meaning that it's due or aggravated by another service connected condition, basically rated at 0 or higher for secondary service connection, right? So I kind of alluded to tinnitus and mental health and headaches and all that kind of stuff. That's just an example. The most effective way to prove service connection is by obtaining an independent medical opinion from a private healthcare provider who can diagnose you and provide a medical nexus letter. A nexus letter confirms your current diagnosis and also provides scholarly research in support of providing your service connection for your claimed condition. All right. If the VA denies service connection, they may not have found a nexus for service connection. So it's crucial to prove to them with the necessary evidence, right? Those peer-reviewed medical evidence is great. And then the fourth prong here, severity, that we spoke about earlier, severity of your symptoms. So if your final VA rating percentage for particular disability, that all depends on the severity of your symptoms, right? I kind of alluded to earlier, you could be rated at 0% for headaches. I'll just use headaches as an example. Or you can be rated at 50, and that all depends on how you can show the severity of your symptoms. So generally, more severe symptoms lead to a higher VA rating percentage. You can see how this works in 38 CFR Part 4, Schedule for Rating Disability. If you want to Google that again, 38 CFR, so Code of Federal Regulations, Part 4, Schedule for Rating Disabilities, where symptoms and keywords are directly tied to the disability rating percentage the VA will assign you based on the threshold that you meet there. Medical evidence is usually key here. Depending on your condition, you can help prove your current severity of symptoms by writing a personal statement in support of your claim, discussing how your disability condition affects your work, life, social functioning. Be honest and describe your experiences on your worst days. Now, those personal statements certainly help, but again, getting that stuff documented with your physician, your treating physician, carries a little bit more weight. Okay. Again, medical evidence includes all private medical records connected to your claim condition, such as reports from your doctor, x-rays, test results from non-VA hospitals or treatment centers, records of any medical treatment you received for the claimed condition during your military service, and any military personnel records related to your claimed condition. All right. So the more you have, the longer paper trail you have, the stronger your claim will probably be. Any related health records that you don't possess, but which the VA can request on behalf, or on your behalf rather, from a federal facility like a VA medical center or clinic, they can also look that stuff up too. So if and they have a duty to assist to do that. So if you are, getting treated at the VA, you don't have to upload your VA records to the VA. All right. So, but when you're submitting your claim, you will have an option to say, hey, I've been treated at this medical center, and you can put that VA medical center in and point them in the right direction. So even though you're collecting all this evidence for yourself, you can still ask the VA to help you find and collect that information and evidence before you file your fully developed claim. That was a mouthful. I'm going to pass it on over to Tucker here. Tucker, how do you file your fully developed VA claim?
All right, exactly. Thank you, Coach Andrew. So to ensure your claim is processed under the fully developed claims program, you have to make sure to follow a certain bit of steps before submitting your application. So first off, obviously completing the application, right? So submitting your completed application for disability compensation and related compensation benefits, which is the VA form 21-526EZ. Again, that's VA Form 21-526 Echo Zulu, right? And you can submit this online via mail at your local VA office or by fax, okay? So make sure to check the box that says Fully Developed Claim Program or FDC program and not standard claim on the application. Also, provide evidence. Turn in all the proper evidence, aka those supporting documents you have or can easily obtain along with your claim. Make sure to keep copies of all the evidence you turned in so you know exactly what information the VA has. And also certify, right? Confirm that there is no more evidence the VA might need to decide your claim. Also, number 4, attend VA medical exams. If required, go to any VA medical exams necessary for the VA to decide your claim. The VA will inform you if any exams are needed. Now, this is very important. I'll just give a quick tip. When I was filing for my tinnitus and hearing loss, I had a factory phone setting that auto hung up spam numbers. The VA was trying to call me for a while to get a hold of me. So just guys, answer. If you submit a claim, be answering all of your phones, all of the phone calls you're getting, and definitely make sure if you have on any settings to turn those off because it could definitely mess you up in the end. So if you submit additional information or evidence after filing your fully developed claim, the VA will remove your claim from that FDC program and process it as a standard claim like we talked about earlier, right? So if the VA decides your claim prior to 1 year from the date they receive it, you'll have the remainder of that 1 year period to submit any additional information or evidence to support your claim. So what does the VA fully developed claim timeline look like, right? If you submit all the evidence your claim needs and are able to submit a VA fully developed claim, you will most likely receive a decision on your VA disability claim in 3 to 5 months from when you submit your claim. As of November 2025, the average fully developed claim takes 81.1 days to process and give you a decision. So I'm going to go over now the 8 steps and how long they generally take each. So you have step 1, which is where they receive your claim. That's about 7 to 14 days. Then you have step 2, where it's under review. This could take up to 2 weeks to a whole month. Step 3, gathering of evidence. Now, this step is definitely the longest phase in the VA claims process and usually takes 30 to 60 days. But submitting a fully developed claim helps shorten that timeline. That's why the fully developed claim program is so important. And step 4 is the review of your evidence, which takes about 7 to 14 days. Step 5, preparation for decision, takes again about 7 to 14 days. Step 6, pending decision approval, another 7 to 14 days. Step 7, preparation for notification, where they're about to reach out to you, right? And again, another 7 to 14 days. And step 8, decision notification sent, which is the final step in the VA claims process, and it can take about 7 to 10 days, okay? Now, this, again, is normally just an estimate because there's several factors that can influence the time it takes the VA to process your claim. So, being aware of them can definitely help you understand any delays you may be experiencing. So some of those factors include things like initial claims. So if you're filing an initial claim, it may take longer because the VA needs to request your treatment records and personnel file from multiple different places, right? Also, the number of disability conditions. The more conditions you include in your claim, the longer it may take for the VA to make a decision. So like as an example, let's say on one hand, you're submitting just a claim for migraines. And then on the other hand, you just submitted a claim for your left knee, right knee, left upper extremity, right upper extremity, PTSD. That's obviously going to take a lot longer for the VA to get all of their ducks in a row to be able to evaluate everything, right? Apart from that, though, the type of claim, right? Like how we were talking about before, filing a fully developed claim can speed up the process, while those standard claims require more development by what they call a VSR, which is a veteran service representative, such as obtaining additional records. Also, the quality of medical evidence. If your medical evidence isn't clear, that's when a VSR may need to gather more information, which can also put that delay on your claim. Also, scheduling your compensation and pension exam. This is the C&P exams. Now, this is the most important day of the entire claims process, folks, okay? The time it takes to schedule and complete C&P exams can impact your claims processing time, right? So some exams can be done in person, while others may be conducted virtually or through a records review. And that's what they call an ACE, acceptable clinical evidence. That's where they basically make a decision on your claim without even having you come in to do a C&P exam. They can just do it off of all of your medical evidence in your files, right? C&P exam results, right? If the VA rater needs additional information from the examiner, or if the disability benefits questionnaire, aka DBQ, wasn't completed correctly, your claim might also be delayed. Also, VA claims backlog. The backlog can affect when a VA rater gets assigned to your case, impacting processing times, right? Now, the backlog is going up, so the sooner you file, the better. I have seen it as of recent. They've done a really good job in the fourth quarter. They pushed out a lot of claims in 2025. So from my understanding, they've been doing a pretty good job moving forward in these years. But also quality review. So the VA randomly selects 3 claims per month on average from each veteran service representative, aka that VSR, and rating veteran service representative, which is an RVSR, for a quality review assessment, which can also, again, slow down the process for those claims. So just keep in mind that approval timelines vary from days to years, depending on all of these factors that I just mentioned above. So Coach Andrew, would you like to go over how these veterans can make sure to file a VA fully developed claim to get that compensation that they deserve?
I'd love to, brother. So as Tucker said, you want to make sure that you file this fully developed claim, properly. So the VA fully developed claim program has been a game changer for veterans seeking disability benefits, right? And that's all of you. So by filing an FDC, you can expedite this claims process. And look, that's awesome because we really don't have much power, right? As far as, there's not a whole lot we can do to kick the tires and light the fires. So what you can do, you can control what you can control, right? And this is something you can control. So by filing that fully developed claim process, you can help expedite that and receive a decision in a shorter time frame. Reduce stress during the process, and it's all about understanding and taking advantage of that program, the FDC program, which can significantly impact your claims experience. All right, folks. So make sure when you're submitting that claim, talk to your coach, please. If you don't have a coach, sign up. I'd love to be your coach. Tucker would love to be your coach, and there's a litany of other coaches at VA Claims Insider that would love to help you out as well. Make sure that you get the proper education you need to get this stuff going forward. So when you are submitting a claim, whether you use a coach or not, make sure that you're checking in on that fully developed claim process. It is outstanding. Again, going back to what I said earlier, you can only control what you can control, right? And this is one of those things that you can help speed yourself along. Once it's in the pipeline, though, you're kind of at the VA's mercy, right? But this is one of those things that, hey, when it comes on a rater's desk and an adjudicator's desk and they already have everything they need, they're not going to have to kick it back and say, we still got to do research on this or that. So that can make that claim take longer. And so this is something you can do to avoid that. That all said, folks, that is kind of everything that we wanted you to know about the FDC process. We are a few minutes ahead of schedule. The Q&A usually starts here, but I'd love to take care of any questions that you folks might have. We'll go ahead and start at the top. Our wonderful tech team here has highlighted some important stuff. So Chris asks or says, I'm at 90% with 50% for PTSD, adding sleep apnea as a secondary to it. From what I understand, the two of them together will be rounded up to 80%, and that would put me at 95%, which would round up to 100. Would that be right? That is, let me see. So 85 would round, or 80% doesn't round up to 90. But if you do get to 95, so say for instance, you're at an 85% right now and you got a 50% for PTSD, that would bring you to around 91. And then the 50% for sleep apnea, yes, that would bring you to around 95. And that would then, yes, round 95 does round up to 100. There you go. So yes, correct. I think the wording may have got me a little bit, but yeah, I think we're tracking now. So yeah, it would definitely, once you hit 95, you're rounded up to 100, and hopefully that's permanent in total, and you could put that baby to bed. Anything to add there, Tucker?
No, that sounds about right to me. They're very big. Also, another thing to take a look at, Chris, I would go over if you are with a coach, the average I see, and I'm sure Coach Andrew can also attest to this, the average I see for mental health coming back is about 70%. Mm-hmm. So if you have any type of questioning about like, oh man, like, well, what if something gets underrated and if I fall at like that 93% or that 94%, I would definitely take a look into the 70% criteria of what the symptoms that they look at for PTSD and mental health conditions. And maybe you might see yourself sitting more within those 70% criteria. And you might say, hey, well, maybe I should just file for an increase to lock that in.
Absolutely. And, you know, the important part about, especially with coaching, and look, obviously I'm biased because I'm a coach and I love my job, but the important part is I see so many folks that go it alone, and God bless you, going it alone. Look, we're a program that's for veterans that tried it alone or just don't know where to go, right? And so if you've gone it alone and you keep getting underrated, a lot of that is probably because you don't know what you don't know. And my job as an educator, and Tucker's job as an educator, is to help you, you know, open up your mind here a little bit and understand, because you might look at one of those 31 mental health symptoms and say, okay, that doesn't apply to me. But maybe you're looking at it at a different angle, and you don't understand what that means because some of that wording it's alien. It doesn't make any sense. It's too medical. It's too clinical. So our job is to break that down and put it into lay terms and kind of make it relate if it applies to you. So if you're underrated and I saw some folks here that's, you know, hey, my anxiety is getting worse, so on and so forth. If you're underrated, maybe talk to a coach and see what they can, you know, see if they can't open up or unlock that part of your mind and say, oh, that's what that means. That 100% applies to me. And then you could put that into your own words and, you know, just be vulnerable, tell the truth, and hopefully get what you deserve. Right, folks? So absolutely. Tucker, sorry, I didn't mean to go off that rabbit hole there, but Tucker's absolutely right. 50% is great for you. Right. You know, if maybe you only need that 70% though, maybe I haven't looked at your VA math. I don't know exactly where you are, but you know, if 70% could be that one claim that gets you over the hump instead of needing that 50, right? That extra 50. So I would say get with a coach. You know, Tucker and I would love to help out if and when we can. So sign up for an elite membership and we'll be here for you. Next question down here, Rich. Can a claim be based off of your MOS? If no STR, I was in an era where going to medical was looked down on. Sick call was where soldiers went to get out of duty. You are talking to two airborne infantrymen. We know very, very well. Unfortunately, no. The VA doesn't really care about our MOS. So many paratroopers get out, their backs and their knees are shot. Sometimes they take that into consideration, but without medical evidence, you're kind of, you know, it's not great. You have to have that diagnosis. If you, like, say, for instance, you got out of the military in the 90s and you know, now it's 2026 and you have a knee diagnosis. Now, your doctor could say, hey, you know, this knee injury looks like it's really, really old, 30 plus years. But the VA is going to look at it and say, well, you know, there's no timeline there. There's no, you know, he just sucked it up for years, must not be service related. Who knows if he slipped on the ice or, you know, is playing football in the park or so, you know, so on and so forth. Now, that's for, you know, the musculoskeletal stuff. Now, some MOSs or AFSCs or whatever, if, like, say, if you worked around nukes and stuff like that, I mean, there's certain things, but you usually have one of those cards that kind of gather information about the, you know, the nuclear exposure and stuff like that. There are some things like that with real toxic exposure, stuff like that. But that's all very technical, and a lot of that is related to what can you prove? Again, it's all about what you can prove. So I'm sorry, I don't mean to crush dreams here, but the answer is broad stroke is typically no. Your MOS doesn't really help you out too much. Now, it helps paint a picture, but the VA cares about what, Tucker? Medical evidence.
Medical evidence. Yeah, exactly. That's very true. What I like to tell my vets is that it's not necessarily that your claim can be based off of your MOS, but it can kind of be based off of the places, the types, and the circumstances of your service within that MOS. Like another big one too, especially for, you know, high noise exposure, that is something they do take into consideration. They have an entire, the VA has an entire list of all of the different MOSs and what is them more likely to have noise exposure, you know, problems, obviously. So, you know, they take things like that into consideration, you know, and like environmental hazards, like how Coach Andrew was talking about working around nukes, anything with radiation. If you were deployed overseas, burn pits, that could be a somewhat type of thing that you could base some things off of. But as a whole, yes, Coach Andrew is absolutely right. It can't necessarily be based strictly off of your MOS.
Right. Good stuff out of you, Tucker. John asks, listen to your coach. He says, and I guess this is a shout out. Thanks, John. Listen to your coaches. Do what they tell you to do. Hey, we don't tell you, we educate you. All right. I was skeptical the whole way when I went along with the process. Went from 0 to 70 to 90 to 100% permanent in total in 9 months. I was forever grateful, and I have a family veteran and an Army buddy using them now, and it's going nicely for them. God bless all. US. All right. Hey, thank you for that shout out, John. I love it. You guys are my favorite part of the day. Not to pat myself on the back too hard, but multiple, like 6, 7, 8 veterans a month hit 100% under my watch. And I love it. It makes me want to get down here to the office every day and grind it out, because stories like that life change that John just shared with you folks, that is what I live for. You don't work a day if you enjoy your job. So thank you for letting me be a part of this organization and keeping this place going. Appreciate you, John. Anything to add there, Tuck?
No, you're right on it. It's the best thing ever. I mean, I remember my first. They always told us you'll never forget your first 100% vet. I had this veteran. He went from 30% to 100% off of one claim a month after he submitted it. And this guy called me asking me all these questions. I'm like, oh gosh, did it get denied or what happened? He's like, man, I'm at 100% permanent in total. I don't even know what to do with myself right now. I was like, brother, I don't know what to do with myself either. So but it's a blessing, man. It makes me happy to come here and work every single day. It puts us.
Love it. Mine was I kind of got lucky. He was a Vietnam Green Beret, so getting him to 100, wasn't too difficult. But I'll never forget him. I think about him on a regular basis. Great guy. Patrina asks, is it difficult to get a diagnosis while on active duty when you are a National Guard soldier? Aren't soldiers 24 hours a day? Yes and no. Depends if you're on Title 10 orders, right? So if you're on active, orders, you should have access to military clinics and so on and so forth. If you're at drill, typically not. So here's how you get around that a little bit. It's not getting around it. Here's how you document it is if you get hurt on duty, immediately report that to your chain of command and get a line of duty going, right? Get that LOD going, that line of duty investigation. Okay. Because say you get hurt at PT, you're running and you step in a hole and you twist your ankle. Somebody's probably going to see it. You're probably going to need to get help, getting back to the cough or wherever you're going to. And, so somebody's going to witness the injury. And you can get that line of duty investigation going. Hey, hurt my ankle while I was on duty. So on, just an example, right? So if you're not on active orders, like Title 10 federal orders, where you have access to military installations and their attached medical clinics and hospitals, get that line of duty started. All right. Tucker, anything to add there?
No, yeah, absolutely. National Guard is a little bit tricky when it comes down to a lot of the different things in the documentation. But Coach Andrew is absolutely right on that. I remember there was a specific circumstance I saw where a veteran who traveled to a different state, like I used to do when I was in the National Guard. I was going all the way to Florida because they had better state benefits. This guy, he basically went down for duty. And while he was on duty, he got into a car accident while on drill. So he went straight to the hospital, and then he had to get all that line of duty stuff and everything like that. And the VA considers that as, that's on duty. That happened to that soldier while he was on duty. He was in a very bad car accident in uniform and everything like that. So it's definitely opening up that line of duty. Talking to your chain of command is the best way to navigate the National Guard medical evidence for sure.
Nailed it. Steve says, and I have some empathy for Steve here. I'm in a really bad place emotionally, and I feel like my PTSD and my social anxiety disorder are worse. Is there anything I can do to be reevaluated, and is it a good idea? Also, I think I have sleep apnea, and lately when I'm feeling anxiety, my heart rate goes crazy high. I need help, and I don't know what to do. Can anyone please help me? You sound like a great candidate to have a coach, but yes, there are things you can do. There are independent psych evaluations that can, go bring you through all that and reassess the severity of your symptoms and how they affect your occupational and social impairment. Sleep apnea, that's another, I would have to look at all your medical stuff and check out where you are, what you're rated for, all that good stuff, and give you one-on-one coaching there. Don't want to do that in this broad environment here, but sleep apnea can absolutely be secondary to mental health via weight gain, especially. So there is that intermediate there, but yeah, absolutely. And again, if you're having heart issues, that can also be a secondary condition as well. So, hey, get the help you need, brother. Get to the hospital or get to your doctor, get these things diagnosed, get these things squared away. If you need help with this stuff, get yourself a coach, Tucker, myself, or any of the other coaches here at VA Claims Insider would love to take a look at everything. Tucker?
Yes. So somebody asked, will this live broadcast be able to be viewed later? Yes, absolutely. It will be.
Absolutely.
You all mentioned a CFR reference. Can you repeat that? Which one do you think that they were talking about?
Yeah, 38 CFR Part 4, the scheduler. Yep, the scheduler for ratings. Yes, sir. And I think somebody answered that question in the chat. I think that was Patrina, I want to say. We just answered one of her questions. I'd have to go back and scroll through again. Russell says, I've been trying for over 40 years and always denied, but the last time denied was November 25th. 1 month later, they reopened my claim from 2014. What does that mean? So, Russell, a lot of times when you're denied over and over and over again, it's because, again, medical evidence doesn't meet what it should meet. Maybe you didn't go file a claim until 10 years after you got out, or longer even. You mentioned a 2024 claim, a 2014 claim. I'm not sure what that means, because I would have to see the letter that they sent you. Reopening a claim from 11 years or 12 years ago now sounds a little odd. I would have to see the exact language in that. Maybe, they were doing an audit and they found a duty to assist error or something like that. That is extremely rare, but I can't really give you a lot of information without seeing it. I'm sorry, I'm flying blind with no instruments. Tucker, anything to add there?
No, kind of same thing. The VA process and everything is very intricate. I think, and again, Coach Andrew can attest to this as well. I learn something new every single day. Mm-hmm. No document that I've seen has ever really been truly the same from a veteran, Right. So seeing those documents are very important. So if you don't have a coach already, I would definitely recommend signing up for the elite program and letting a coach see some of those documents to kind of, educate you on what your options are.
Absolutely. Angel asks, can you file a claim for the same claim that was given a 0 rating and didn't file an appeal? Absolutely. If you're rated at 0 and it's service connected, even if you got denied, of course you can file an increase, right? If it's over a year from your decision at 0, you could file an increase. If it's within a year, you could file an appeal. If you have evidence that says, hey, at the time of your denial or at the time of my submission, I actually did meet this rating requirement, please reconsider. If you're filing for an increase, you're just giving them new medical evidence showing, hey, my condition is worsened. So absolutely, you can do that. Lots of 0%. I'm one of those few guys that's 0% rated for sleep apnea. They give me a big fat 0 for my sleep apnea. It's mild. I've got a thick neck from lifting weights, and I had my deviated septum fixed, so I'm good. But yeah, there are 0% conditions out there. If you got multiple zeros, that can add to 10 sometimes. If you that's all you have is multiple zeros. But yeah, you can absolutely file for an increase, Angel, or even an appeal if it's within a year. Tucker?
Yeah, no, exactly. Same thing. Doing an increase is very, very important. I've had some vets who have, obviously joined the elite program and came to work under me. And I've seen, I click through their documents and I see like a bunch of 0s for huge claims, mental health being a big one. You can get rated up to 100% for mental health. So I would say if you're a veteran and you feel like your mental health has deteriorated over the years, or you feel like you were underrated in the first place for really mental health or anything, I would say definitely taking a look at increasing it, because, it's very, very important, especially for those just service connected 0% rated, because there's obviously a lot more on the table as years go on. Obviously things tend to get more severe over time. So absolutely, yes.
Heck yeah. You want to get this next question, brother?
Yes. So Bishop Watkins said, can you file a VA claim if you retire from Air Force Reserves? And the answer to that is also yes. Any time period of service in an honorable or general discharge qualifies you for, taking a look at disability. It all just depends on what you have on the table. If you were ever injured in service for anything, if you ever, deployed and had certain things, if you ever had certain events that happened in service that hurt you mentally or physically, It would all just depend on what you have going on. But the short answer to it is yes, you can absolutely file a VA claims. Reserves across all branches, active duty across all branches, National Guard across all states.
I got nothing to add there. Deb does ask, will your veteran service representative be able to see your C&P results in their system? Yes. So a VSO, VSR, accredited agent, they can absolutely pull things up for you. Now, they 99.999% of the time, they won't be able to share those with you. They can read it off the screen to you, but they're not going to print those out or be able to send those to you in a PDF or anything. So you'll have to request what's called your C file. So if you want to go to vaclaimsinsider.com, use the little search bar on the top right and type in request C file, or just type in C file. That'll help you request that information. Tucker, next question.
Gotcha. Yes. So Paul says, or
Fred.
Excuse me. Yeah. So my questions are all over the place.
You're
okay,
good.
So Fred said, I heard that the VA is looking at some of the IMOs, which is independent medical opinions for those who don't know, as a printing mill with no merit. Have you guys heard that too? I have no idea what that even means.
Man, I've heard so much stuff. The internet, Fred, is a cesspool. So I'll tell you this: the independent medical opinions that I read, they're all from licensed physicians, board certified psychologists. The VA has no legal authority to say, oh, this is, if it's coming from a licensed physician or board certified. If they're a licensed practitioner, period, no matter what level of medicine, they have no authority to say, oh, that's a printing mill. So if you read that on Reddit or Facebook or somewhere else, take it with a grain of salt, because again, the internet is full of ideas and we all know what we think about everybody with their ideas. That's all I'll say there. Tucker, anything to add there?
No, I mean, they, PNN is what I like to call this type of stuff. Private News Network. That's what I like to refer to these type of stuff a lot. Everything's all up in
Barracks lawyers. Yeah.
The Barracks lawyers. Exactly. Oh my goodness. Let's see what else we got here. Okay. So Paul says some of my medical records were redacted. Any experience with that? Me, I don't necessarily understand the question. What type of medical records are you talking about? Service treatment records, or
medical records being redacted, period, is a little strange. I would have to dig more into that. I've never experienced any of my veterans. Like when I see redacted, I see a piece of paper with whiteout or blacked out text. For someone to have that seems a little strange to me. Maybe you were black ops and you were doing some crazy stuff downrange. And some locations were blacked out. I don't know. That's just, my head spinning there. I've never seen medical records redacted personally. So, unfortunately, I don't have an answer for you there. I do apologize. Lynn says, working on my dad's claim, Vietnam vet with Agent Orange exposure. So he falls under that PACT Act. No record of knee injury from helicopter drop, surgery after he was rifted. Medical records from surgeries long ago destroyed. What can I do? Again, man, unfortunately, if you don't have any record of that, the VA is going to look at you unless the VA can find that record. But I guess he might have been denied for those if you submitted that claim. But if he had surgery and he has no records and the VA can't find any records, again, with these musculoskeletal conditions, these orthopedic conditions, the VA, they got to see some kind of paper trail. This kind of goes back to that last one we had with the MOS and the, all that stuff. So unfortunately, there's probably not a lot he can do for his knee. But if he is diagnosed with a medical condition under that PACT Act for Agent Orange exposure, that's what's called a presumptive claim. Okay. So depending on, some of them you require a certain time frame, but under the PACT Act, and he's look at that PACT Act list. Again, go to vaclaimsinsider.com, search bar, type in PACT Act, and you'll see the list. And there's an Agent Orange section in there. If he's been diagnosed with one of those, I would get a claim in as soon as humanly possible. Tucker, anything to add, brother?
No, yeah, absolutely right on the money. Definitely. I use the vaclaimsinsider.com website every single day, all day, every day. Mm-hmm. If you can type something into that search bar and you can't find what you're looking for, it'd be my first time seeing that. But I would definitely recommend checking that out. The PACT Act for Agent Orange is a pretty big list. So again, like Coach Andrew was saying, if your dad, go through that list with him. If he's experiencing any of those things, then definitely, if he doesn't have a medical diagnosis, get them to the doctor, get that in, and start working towards a presumptive claim. Absolutely.
Absolutely. James says he's at 80%, so 70, 10, and 10. So mental health, tinnitus, and diabetes. So that puts him at 76, which rounds up to 80. So he is at 80%. How do you get to 100? That's a convoluted question. Denied for headaches, GERD, and hypertension, or hypertension and sleep apnea, diagnosed, and a CPAP. All right. So you probably need a nexus letter. Basically you have a couple of strong avenues to headaches, maybe one strong avenue to sleep apnea if you've gained weight. So what you'll need is a medical opinion from an independent physician that has reviewed all of your records, that has spoken to you, and that has, is able to put 2 and 2 together, right? Remember we talked about earlier, the Kaluza triangle, 3 things you need for a service-connected condition. You need a diagnosis that's active and current and chronic. You need an in-service event or aggravation, and you need a nexus tying those together. Without that nexus, the VA is going to deny you 100% of the time if it's not in your service treatment records, right? So that is what you need to do. And in order to get to 100 for you, my friend, being at 70, 10, 10, a 50 for headaches, and a 50 for sleep apnea would get you to 95, which is 100. That's my free advice for the day on that one. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, you do have a route to 100 in my professional experience, brother. Good luck to you. I hope you sign up and get yourself a coach. Anything to add there, Tuck?
No, yeah, absolutely. I wouldn't, it's a pretty broad question. Like we've kind of been explaining a little bit, every veteran is different. No vet is the same. All situations are, a little bit different. So I would definitely say getting with a coach, providing all of your medical documents, your VA medical records, your rated, all that good jazz that comes with joining an elite membership and getting a coach. And they can definitely further give you that good education.
Absolutely. You want to grab this next one, brother?
Yes. So Nando said, hello, I have been having knee problems and want to put a claim in for it. I am at 90% for sleep apnea, mental health. Can my disability be decreased after 55 years? So this is a big one, a big thing that a lot of veterans are scared of. So what I will say on this is 9 times out of 10, no. But it would take for you to literally go in and tell them that your problems are resolving. Like, so say, for example, you filed for your knee and you went into a C&P exam. And, for some reason, or you went to a doctor's appointment and for some reason, the doctor's asking you, oh, well, how is your sleep apnea? And you're like, oh, well, I don't snore anymore. Or, oh, I don't really have breathing problems anymore. I've lost weight. Or they're like, hey, how is your mental health? And you're like, oh, you know what? Like, it's a lot better. I don't really think about it much more. I don't really have any problems. Like, it would take you to deconstruct your own disability for them to reevaluate your rating. You know what I mean? And especially being at 90%, if you can get it over that hump, get to 100% permanent in total, then they'll never be able to, reevaluate it. So
right.
That's what I would say on that.
Yeah, it looks like he's at 85% if you're looking at 70 and 50. So 85 rounds to 90. That's the lowest possible 90 you can get. A knee condition, even if you got 40 for your knee, that still wouldn't bring you the rest of the way. So you're going to need 250s from here. So I would definitely get with a coach and discuss that. Maybe even a 50 and a 40 would get you there. Yeah, 50 and a 40 would get you there, likely to right to 96. So you're going to need some high value claims to get you from that 85 bumped up. I would talk with a coach about any presumptives, any high value secondaries, if they apply to you. The only way to reduce after 55, as Tucker said, is if clear medical evidence that you have sustained improvement, fraud is found, or the rating was clearly and unmistakably wrong based on the record. So at 55, the reexamination protection in that sense, the VA generally avoids routine future exams once you're 55 years or older, but it is not a rule that makes reductions impossible. Okay, so you should be good to go. But again, if you are going to the VA and said, hey, I'm all good, man. I don't have sleep apnea anymore. My mental health is great. I'm the happiest guy in the world. Then, if they do an audit and they say, oh, well, let's look at his medical records and let's look at where he's rated, then they could possibly reduce you. But that's really all dependent on your reporting. How can you request medical records this is from Paul, from 88 to 92. I have tried searching and don't see anything. All right. So for that, there's branch specific things to the National Archives, right? So look at those National Archives, type in, on Google, veterans, veterans records, National Archives. That should pop up and it'll give you a list of, okay, what era because different eras, right, require different things because, maybe you weren't digital, stuff like that. So, just look at the National Archives, brother, and that should be good to go. Anything else to add there, Tucker? Pretty straightforward.
Absolutely. I had to request mine from the archives as well. It's a great tool to have. I would definitely check that out for sure. Absolutely. If you're looking for your records. Okay, I'll take this one.
Okay.
So Deb said, when your decision says compensation for hypothyroidism is deferred, what does deferred mean? So deferred doesn't necessarily mean that it's been denied. It just means that they're still waiting for something. So like normally, if you're looking at a decision letter and it says, compensation for hypothyroidism is deferred, when you go past like in the more pages and you find the number where they're talking about hypothyroidism in your decision letter, it'll say why it's deferred. So like most of the time when I see it, it's because you haven't, they haven't put you in for an exam, or they need more evidence, or they're requesting something of you. So it doesn't necessarily mean that it's denied. It's just they can't make a decision on it yet because they're still missing some things.
Right. Yeah. Deferred. That happens a lot. They just need more time. I'll take this one. Dwayne asks, he says, I've been at 10% for tinnitus. I served as a UH-1 Huey helicopter mechanic and crew chief in multiple air ambulance units where sleeping was difficult due to mission flights all times of night. I've been diagnosed with sleep apnea and have been using a CPAP for nearly a year. Don't know why my doctor at the Miami VA hospital would not complete or contact me about the Nexus letter I requested. Is it possible to add sleep apnea to tinnitus? Really important to clear this up. VA physicians will not do Nexus letters. I've heard about it before if they're out the door about to retire or something like that, but it is extremely rare. It's looked at as unprofessional and a conflict of interest. So I would not be asking your VA physicians to complete medical records or DBQs for you. It's just, improprietary. That all said, tinnitus to sleep apnea, that's a stretch. They're not medically combined, right? There isn't, ear, nose, and throat, sure, but your tinnitus isn't going to, close up your airways in any way. So obstructive sleep apnea, maybe if you have central sleep apnea, mental health can affect that, but that's a real big stretch. But no, tinnitus to sleep apnea directly, not going to happen in my experience, not even medically. There's no causation or aggravational chain there really, unless, mental health is the bridge from tinnitus to mental health, and mental health has caused you to gain weight, and weight gain is that intermediate factor because weight gain is the number one cause or aggravation of sleep apnea. Again, sleep apnea, it's an airway issue. Typically, central sleep apnea can have to do with the brain, but tinnitus typically not going to do that. Sorry, I don't mean to be a dream crusher here, but yeah, don't ask the VA for Nexus letters and private and special DBQs, and I certainly wouldn't try to connect tinnitus to sleep apnea. Anything to add there, Tucker?
No, yeah, exactly. Right on the money. I have never seen a VA, any type of VA rep of any kind, write any sort of Nexus letter or DBQ in my entire time. Also, same thing with how you're saying with tinnitus. If you use tinnitus as a bridge to mental health, and then mental health leading to weight gain, and that weight gain causing your sleep apnea, then you can build the bridge with tinnitus, but you can't directly file your sleep apnea because of your tinnitus, because it's not medically related, just like how Coach Andrew was saying. But you can use it as a bridge, absolutely.
And hey, we were rocking and rolling on this Q&A, but I just looked at the clock, brother. We are out of time, and I want to go ahead and just go over, just kind of recap about the fully developed claims. And thank you. I love answering these questions. I could do this forever, but we do have to get to our regularly scheduled day. So fully developed claims, folks. It is your, again, controlling what you can control. Get the evidence, get that diagnosis, get the proper medical evidence, go that fully developed claim route when you're submitting your claim. It is what you can control to get this sped up as fast as you possibly can. And then it's onto the VA so they don't have to do all the research and all that good stuff. VA Claims Insider, my brothers and sisters in arms, strategy, education, medical evidence. Get signed up with a coach if you feel that, you've hit a wall or that you just don't know where to start. That is our expertise. We are here to educate you to the fullest extent. We want you to get what you deserve. Get that one-on-one coaching, that strategy, that claim submission education, that C&P education. You've got those live classes, 3 classes, up to 3 classes per week, sometimes more. You got coffee with the coaches, mental health condition evaluations, and exam education rather, and then medical exam education. Brian's new book, VA Claims Secrets. Brian Reese, our founder, is now available. Orders yours on Amazon today. Again, it's VA Claims Secrets. And don't forget, if you're on the fence here and you want to book a discovery call, schedule one and talk to one of our team members by going to www.vaclaimsinsider.com. Reach out to our organization at vaclaimsinsider.com. We'd love to partner with you on your VA claims journey. Thank you for letting myself and Tucker be a part of your journey here, whether it's just this hour that you get to hear us talk or if you join our organization. We certainly would love to have you. Tucker, any final parting words, brother?
Yeah, absolutely, guys. Thank you all for joining in today. I had a blast. Like Coach Andrew was saying, I could read those questions forever. I don't think we ever would have ended it today. But now, thank you guys for letting us educate you for this hour, and we really appreciate you guys showing up and showing out.
Yeah, one part. I'm sorry to interrupt, but one parting piece there. We will get to your questions. Our team will get to your questions after the live feed ends. So they'll turn into comments on the Facebook feed, and your questions will be replied to. So again, thanks, Tucker. Always a pleasure to teach with you, brother. And to all of our vets, have a great day.
Take it easy, guys.